Brothers and sisters, welcome back to your church of heavy metal. It is Thunderdome Metal Reviews. I am the Reverend Dangerously, temporarily in Kentucky for reasons that many of you are familiar with due to our continuing living through a pandemic. With me, as always, are Tracy, the spreadsheet Newport. How are you doing, Tracy?
I'm doing good, man. Diving into Morbid Angel, not Morbid Angel.
Morbid Angel Jace, as it were. The Doctor, David Pizzo, is also with us tonight. How are you doing, sir?
As Death Metal's official ambassador in this church, I'm happy to discuss Mayhem Morbid Angel, which is what this is. I'm pumped. It's like a death metal, black metal supergroup. Morbid Mayhem. I'm obviously pumped because to me,
it is
that. No, because I just was pumped because even the mediocre tracks on here, I'm like, fuck yeah. I mean, just more of this all the time. So I'm happy, and it's good to see y'all.
Indeed, sir. And Gabe Cooper. Gabe, how was it in Ohio?
It is total destroy, if you know what I'm talking about. But here with y'all, it's almost like I'm not in Ohio, so it's
destruction.
Cool. Some form of escape.
You are in the quasi realm of metal, the demo plane of David Vincent. So Tracy, tell us a little bit about this album.
Metal Land is where he is.
Yeah, we are in Metal Land indeed. This Bludgeoning by the Bellhops was brought to us by David as he picked the album Something Wicked Marches In by Vltimas. It was released on March 29th of 2019. It is their debut album released on the Season of Mist label. It's a runtime of 38 minutes and 20 seconds. You have David Vincent on vocals of Morbid Angel fame, Rune Blasphemer Erickson of Mayhem fame and guitars, and Flo Mounier on drums. I presume that's how it's pronounced. I don't think it's Doesn't David Vincent also play bass?
Yes.
They didn't list that on the Bandcamp. They just had him listed
really?
Yes.
I assumed he was playing the bass on this album.
They just had him listed as vocals on the Bandcamp. Maybe they just tuned it so well you can't hear it, or he's like, hey, fuck, I'm doing it.
You can hear it sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's possible.
I could hear bass on this album, so because that's one of the things that stood out to me was the bass on a couple of tracks.
Yeah, there's bass here.
Or Rune was also playing bass as well as guitars. I don't know, but whoever played bass on this, I thought did a decent job.
Yeah. They created it over a very long time span. Some was done in Portugal, some in the US. It took a long time to get it together, but they got it together. I am a big fan also. It sort of seems counterintuitive, but three-piece death metal shit is some of the best ones. I mean, that was Covenant was that, Surgical Steel, and
Nihil
was like that. And what's the other one? The one we just Torn Arteries is like that. So I'm here for it. And you know how I feel about David Vincent. I think he's the best death metal vocalist, period.
If it's David Vincent's on the billing, you're in for it.
I'm in, dude.
It's like also some random like jazz pop. Just he's like, I'm in.
Bring it on. North Carolina's finest. But then he did like this weird accent on here occasionally that was reminded me of Odorous. Not that it was the same weird accent, but I'm like, are you just trying to sound Scandinavian to like get into the mood? I don't know. But
I mean, I was happy to hear some of his God Emptiness vocals on here too occasionally.
Yes.
It's very sparse. I would have enjoyed to hear that a little more, but
it comes on strong at the end, the last few tracks. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't know how, he's getting older, so I don't know where that is, but he still sounds mean as fuck, man.
Yeah. I mean, he's the quintessential death metal vocalist, isn't he? Like
I would agree. I would argue that, yes. But of course, I would argue that.
Wants to live up to.
Whether he's the quintessential or not, I don't know. But is he the best? Yes.
Yeah, he is, dude. And I'm not as big a fan as of black metal as I am of death metal. But I thought this marriage worked pretty well. Again, it was just like three guys making a thing happen. Because it definitely has some black metal elements to it, right? It isn't purely like a Morbid Angel record.
Yeah, but I also feel like the leap from black metal to death metal isn't as much as a leap as the album we did earlier, or as the albums that some of the shit they do in that one. Like that's a very close step as opposed to let's make a big jump.
Well, one of the ironies is so black metal directly split off of death metal, partially in a reaction to Morbid Angel, right? Because it and a couple other bits, but really Morbid Angel, when they turned into arena rock stars or what passed for that in the death metal scene by the time of Domination, black metal second wave was like, fuck that, son. We're going to make our production terrible. We're going to make our album covers terrible. Like, we're not going to go arena at all. And they didn't. They did not go that way. And so in Mayhem was, I guess, almost a bridge between the first and second generations. They're pretty early in that second generation. But so that it's very interesting to see black metal second wave and the monster that both spawned them and then they rejected all in the same album together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very Frankenstein.
Yeah, totally.
I really enjoyed this because it did have a lot of elements of death and black metal, but it was the tempo really caught me by surprise because it was much more, and that's really what reminded me of Morbid Angel, because it really fit into that Dominion pocket.
Indeed.
As far as the tempo went. And so although there are a few spots where there are some blast beats, it's not like full on as fast as we can fucking play black metal, or what would pass for that in death metal, because there's some of that there too. So I really enjoyed that. In some ways this was a much sludgier tempo album than the last one we did, which was a combination of sludge and hardcore.
I have to say I really dug this album too. And one thing that we haven't really talked about so far, and maybe is worth talking about, I'm not sure, is the place of tech death in here through Flo Mounier, who is in Cryptopsy. Indeed. And there were some things stylistically that surprised me in terms of like the kind of riffing. Was it closer to black metal? Was it closer to tech death at certain points? Like I wasn't expecting that from this record because I thought it was just a death metal record, just like going in. And that's just like, my bias toward David, probably not really toward the record itself.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I thought it was really great how it all worked together. I mean, legacy death metal could be something boring too. It could be, some people who are just doing what they've done for years and years and years and doing it again. But it was fresh.
I kind of want to continue. I do agree with you that it was fresh, but I want to touch back on the discussion that we had in the last episode to continue it forward here. And that if I didn't know any better and I just heard some of the songs, I would have thought that this was a Morbid Angel album.
And that's a good thing. Just kidding, but for real.
Well, it is a good thing, but I think that just goes to the identity of the vocalist again.
Indeed. Because
that's why I would have thought that. I mean, also the tempo and the style is close enough to the old Morbid Angel that I would have been like, oh, okay, this is just something I hadn't heard before. But, it is that, I don't know, that it's that presence, that voice that I've listened to Morbid Angel enough to recognize, and I was just like, oh, dude, cool. And so there was a little bit of that geek factor on my end.
I don't have enough of a history with Morbid Angel to be able to make that analogy in my head. So I had heard this album when it came out in 2019. I was not the biggest a fan of it, but that was well before David has shoved copious amounts of death metal down my throat.
You're welcome. There's more coming. Altars of Madness is coming on the schedule soon.
Did we do Altars?
No. I promise you, we have not. How dare you, sir? Yeah, it's on the scale. I think my next pick is Altars of Madness.
And so, yeah, this one, I remember this was better than I remember it being. When I first started, I was like, oh, this is pretty good, but I wasn't quite used to death metal and black metal. And now it's much more an acquired taste than it was previously.
My work is done here.
David just quits. I'm done, guys.
I just hang up, and that's the last time you ever see me. The whole thing was a commercial for Vltimas. My time here.
And he's not leaving before he does Altars of Madness.
Yeah, you're damn right. Fuck no, I'm not. And I got to represent Carcass in the end of year special. Like, it's a commitment that being death metal's ambassador, it never ends.
True, but it's a weight on your shoulders that you gladly accept.
I do accept it.
It's
And
a labor of love and death.
It's a labor of love and death, and I both loved it and died this week. So, and I listened to the shit
Is
out
that
of this
like
record
a,
this week.
Isn't a labor of love and death a Cradle of Filth album?
It
It
probably
sounds like
is.
one of their album titles.
It
Probably.
does.
At least one of
It
the
should
Their
be.
next one.
It should be. Though again, I know I'm beating a death metal horse here, but David Vincent I just think he's a lot better than Danny Filth. And that's maybe that's subjective, but I prefer him.
No, he is. I mean, that's
I don't know Gabe's thoughts on Cradle of Filth, but I know that Tracy and I agree with
Yeah.
That's all that's important.
but
I have a quorum.
But yeah, I mean, it was nice to hear the elements of them, and then also they allowed moments of brevity in the album as well, instead of it just being pure annihilation. It has moments there where it's just kind of like the intro to Mono Lilith, and I think the back end on the album was Sanguine and Marching On. They all kind of just add nice moments and flares and touch there to where they allow the music to breathe instead of it just being 1,000 hammer fists to the face. It's 2 fists to the face.
and
Sometimes
also
it's a lot of
only
fists.
38 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not long.
So
Not
Tracy
long
kind of
at
started
all.
us talking about tracks, so why don't we go ahead and jump into that?
Total destroy. Total destruction. Well, now you know what I'm going to say. No, I'll just say it. These songs are all fucking good. And I'd listened to this when it first came out, and I also listened to the Prevalidus single. So I think the album opens very strong. Prevalidus is just an unrelenting death metal assault on your skull, which I adore. Total Destroy is good. Monolith, as Tracy said, it gives you a little bit of just some space to breathe in there. I like Last One Alive Wins Nothing, right? It's slower. It is, I agree with you, a little bit more like Domination, Ben. And then we get the last 2 tracks, Diabolus et Sanguis and Marching On. That's where the bow to be faithful, that's where that shit comes in. The David Vincent just, becoming, I don't know, choir demon. So I love that shit. And so out of these 9 tracks, only 9 of them were good. The end. I'm done. Mic drop.
Not 10 of them were good. You didn't add a
Well,
bonus one?
102. Yes. The 10th track that I heard in my mind, which was just David Vincent tuning his bass, that one was also very good.
I'll go next. I agree with David pretty much that Prevalidus and Monolith are 2 really exceptional tracks on the back end where he does get his vocals on as well. It's a really nice touch to the album as well.
Isn't it Monolith? And I'm not trying to
Monolith.
Is it one Lilith or one stone?
I think it's probably referring
Like
at a
Lilith
mix
there?
and both to like that. Was it the
Yeah,
Lilith and
fair.
like
That'd be funny.
angel and demon mythology, like the
Oh shit!
creator
Dude.
to Nephilim?
I literally didn't notice this. I just glanced at it and just thought it was Monolith, and my brain went to a 2001 space. But no, you're right. You're 100% right, and I'm fucking wrong. It's still awesome. Still awesome.
It is still an awesome track. I also can't really say that there's a bad song on this. I think Something Wicked Marching In is a good opener. Actually, instead of naming tracks that they've already named, I'm just going to say that the run from the opener through Monolith is really good. And then Truth and Consequences is decent, but I think that is a skippable track. And then the last one's Alive Wins Nothing through the end is also very good.
Yeah, I think I would agree that my favorite part of the album is the back half. I also don't think that there's a bad track on this thing. But my top 2 would probably be Monolith and Diabolus for sure.
Well, David, what is your grade, sir?
I think this album is good. It's listenable. It's fun. I don't know if it's necessarily one for the ages, and if I put out another, you know how I am about like when a band becomes a band, like that I start feeling a little differently. But all that being said, I'm going to give this a 92.5, like an A-, sort of on that borderline. If you like death metal or black metal, you should check it out. It's good shit.
I'm right there with you. I think this is an A-. You know, I hate to keep using this term because we throw it out there. We didn't throw it out there at the last recording, thankfully, but this is a supergroup, legitimately so, for this genre of music. And I think that they put in the work here, and it shows. It might be, and this is going to sound weird coming from me, but it might be a bit short to reach the upper echelons of stuff. But it is in that sweet spot. It has aggression. It has tracks that, as Tracy pointed out, breathe, and it's an A-.
I'll go next. I'm gonna come in lower than you guys are, because I think the songs were good. I think some of the other stuff just kind of didn't quite connect with me. I'm going to give it a 83, a B-.
Heresy.
I know.
Looks like it's up to me to save the day, guys. So I think that this is a really great record. It's an A- trending towards A. I think if I listened to it more, I would like it even more. So, yeah, a lot to love here. And when a man loves a record.
I don't know.
Don't you marry it, Gabe?
Love the record. Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
All right. Well, gentlemen, our next poison's brought on to us by me. It is 12-Foot Ninja's new album, Vengeance. I'm sure you all love it as much as I do. I hope I'm not
like
going
it.
your directions.
I'm going to say that
You
is
couldn't
the
say
most
that with a straight
appropriate
face.
album cover I have ever seen for an album.
Oh, tune in next time, gentlemen, or folks out there in metal land, to see where the gang falls on this album.